Hello, I'm glad you're here today. Today it's all about the right tips for a really flat summer belly. I'm Dr. Petra Bracht, and I would also like to have a flat summer belly. I'm a general practitioner, and I'm truly a nutrition doctor with all my heart and soul. Yes, the time has come. Now is exactly the time again when women, but also men, like to show off their flat stomachs. But all too often, a bloated belly ruins those plans. And that's the case for so many people, regardless of age, by the way. Sadly, many young people already have bloated bellies. By the way, having air in your belly is completely normal. Each of us should have, or definitely has, about half a liter to a liter of it in our belly. Of course, we all carry this air with us. But a bloated belly has to deal with significantly more air. It's not just unattractive, but the constant rumbling in your belly, that never-ending feeling of fullness. You can also get more or less severe stomach cramps from it, and especially that belly filled like a balloon. And the resulting bloating is uncomfortable. And that's not only unpleasant, but it can actually be painful. You're probably wondering, when will they get to the point? What can I do now? By the way, I'm sure you might already know a lot of this, but just knowing something doesn't change anything. That means you have to put that knowledge into practice in order to be successful. That's why I'm starting from the very beginning. First, you should really make sure to chew thoroughly until the food in your mouth becomes liquid. The mouth is the first part of the stomach. You heard that right, because digestion actually starts with breaking down the food. Because when you chew, your saliva flow is stimulated, and the more often and the longer you chew, the better you mix your food with saliva. So the enzyme alpha amylase in your saliva, which is responsible for breaking down carbohydrates, can come into better contact with your food. And that way, your food is already partially digested. Good chewing digests about 30% of the food you have in your mouth, and a large portion of the carbohydrates we eat. And by chewing well, you also take the load off your stomach and you save digestive energy, which can then be used for other things. Just imagine it this way. Everything that isn't properly digested, so not in the mouth, not in the stomach, not in the small intestine, eventually ends up in the large intestine. And in the large intestine, do you know what happens then? That's when all the gut bacteria have to start working. The good ones, that's important. We definitely need them. And that's why half to 1 liter is okay. But the bad ones that also start working, we don't want those, because they produce gases that are actually not healthy for us. One more tip from me, by the way, about not chewing enough. I'm a human too. Put your cutlery down every time you put food in your mouth. And only after you've swallowed, you pick up your cutlery again. That's actually a really good way to focus on chewing. Also, get into the habit of drinking a large glass of water about 20 minutes or a quarter of an hour before eating. Still, water is best. And it's best to avoid drinking carbonated beverages during and up to an hour after your meals. Because carbonation is simply a gas and it causes bloating. It's as simple as that. But there are even more reasons why you shouldn't drink during meals and shortly after. That's because drinking fluids would also dilute your digestive juices even more. That means the digestive process would take longer, because the digestive juices would be diluted. Optimal digestion would be disrupted and delayed as a result. And your gut bacteria would naturally have to work much harder as well. And it's best not to eat too much. There are people who eat 2 or 3 plates, so get used to eating just 1 plate or do even better. Like the Japanese from the island of Okinawa. They are among the groups on Earth with the most centenarians. They only eat enough to fill their stomachs 2/3 full. I know, that's pretty hard. So stopping before you're full, that's quite a challenge. That's possible, and starting earlier makes it easier. Then there's another recommendation from me. I just wouldn't mix so much. So for example, if we combine bread, pasta, potatoes, or rice with meat, fish, or dairy products, then it's a huge effort. For the digestive tract to work, and you will activate so many gut bacteria. And activated gut bacteria are, and always during their work, they're also busy producing gases. And that's maybe why, just a little bit. In the past, this was called food combining, a simple combination like vegetables and carbohydrates or salad and carbohydrates. And if you really want to eat something animal-based, then you only eat proteins and vegetables, but leave out the carbohydrates. That's much easier, and you'll definitely see it in your belly. It will get flatter. And don't forget, maybe if you've watched my videos before, you already know my saying, outer movement creates inner movement. So you can activate your digestion by, for example, taking a digestive walk. People usually take walks on holidays, but you can do it anytime to aid digestion. Get into the habit of taking a walk in the evening before going to bed, for example, with someone else, and use that time to reflect on your day. I think it's really nice. By the way, I do that quite often, and I really enjoy ending the day with whoever I'm with. Of course, I also do some kind of sport, ideally at least half an hour every day, and I do our stretching exercises. So definitely keep moving and stimulate your metabolism. Because when you move, you improve your digestion, and when you improve your digestion, you definitely have less bloating. You can go jogging, do yoga, gymnastics, or Pilates. I don't care which, but just make sure you move. And as I said, our bottleneck stretches are especially good for digestion, especially in the area where the hip flexor is also being stretched. By the way, you can find the exercises here on this channel, specifically on Roland's channel. And by the way, do them. Abdominal exercises have never hurt anyone, especially if your goal is to have a flat stomach. One more thing, which you've probably heard before, but not in this context. Proper breathing, which is often forgotten in our hectic everyday lives, can really promote good digestion. So take a deep breath consciously and then push your entire belly outward. Place your hand on it so you can feel it. And when you exhale, your abdominal wall moves back in again. Do this consciously 3 times a day for 12 breaths each, so your body can learn to breathe normally again. That way, it also gets rid of excess air in your belly. It's definitely worth trying, that's all I can say, because the next summer is already just around the corner. And if you like this video, I'd be happy to read your comment. Maybe you also have an idea that I haven't mentioned yet. And of course, I'd be happy if you subscribe to my channel. And if you want to keep watching, you can find more from me up here. And until then, I hope you manage to get a nice flat belly. Good luck with that. Bye.